Rabbit Hole Roundup, episode 119. 5 best baseball movies, and the NBA playoffs have begun. So guys, in today's edition of the Rabbit Hole Roundup, we have about like 70 to 80% movie talk, because I have like a ton of good movies I want to talk about.
You're looking up movies for people now? I got time.
And then the rest is going to be sports talk, NBA playoffs, MLB, all that good stuff. And so in the spirit of baseball season, as well as like summer being right around the corner, I'll be starting with my top 5 baseball movies of all time. You've got the comedies, you've got the serious ones, and of course you also have like the based on true story ones.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
And each is like a masterpiece in its own right, and each belongs on the Mount Rushmore of the top baseball movies. Following that, I recently watched all the Mission Impossible movies for the first time, and I was like shocked at how good these were. Particularly, the last few that came out like in recent years, ever since like I would say 2011 onward, were some of the best ones. So I'm going to give like a general review of the series and like talk about how good the acting was.
Not in the plane, I'm on the plane! Open the door!
After that, I want to bring up a really underrated rom-com that came out in 2010 starring Owen Wilson, Reese Witherspoon, and Paul Rudd and Jack Nicholson. And that seems to be customary for me and the reviews didn't exactly see eye to eye on this one, which is why it's underrated. So for me personally, I felt like this rom-com actually felt real to me. I'm not saying it was like perfect, but like the acting was really good and like the emotions were actually real. Or at the very least compared like to most other rom-coms like I've seen. And of course, following that, we'll be getting into some NBA playoff talk. We'll be talking about my team, the Lakers. We'll be talking about MLB news and whatever else I come across. And also, like, one other side note I want to bring up, the bracelet, like they normally wear, is broken at the moment, so I'm going to have to repair it, but, like, I am putting it on top of the book. So, it is in fact me, it is Jared Weiss. I'm not an imposter, it's just, like, broken for right now, but I am going to glue it back together. Anyways, without further ado, let's dive deeper now, rabbit hole time, let's go.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jared Weiss. If you guys didn't know that, must mean that you're not subscribed to the channel, so you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts on the video. Follow me on every platform, and if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to check out my book, Fight Through It by Jared Weiss. All links to purchase it are on my website, which is jaredryanweiss.com. That's JAREDRYANWEISS.com. Buy the book, support me, and make sure to check out all the awesome shirts in there as well. Every shirt has been designed by me. Every shirt is made of 100% organic cotton. So if any support at all, as I'm always saying, would be very greatly appreciated. So let's dive deeper into this rabbit hole. We have tons of movie talk as well as like sports talk, so you're not going to want to miss it. Let's dive deeper in now. So let's start things off with my latest top 5 list being top 5 baseball movies of all time. Or at the very least, my top 5 favorites, just to be clear. I know how much like a lot of you enjoyed my top 5 basketball movies list I made like probably about a year ago now. So now that like summer's right around the corner and of course we're in the swing of baseball season, let's talk some top baseball movies. So first, make sure to stay to the end because I will be giving some honorable mentions and also like I will be giving some minor spoilers. So if you haven't seen any of these, you're probably going to be fine. But if you do want to come in totally fresh, you can definitely skip those. Coming in at number 5, I'm going with the movie Sandlot, the first one, of course. This is, of course, a prerequisite for growing up as an athlete, I think. You honestly can't have a complete childhood without seeing this movie.
The Great Bambino!
Just kidding, of course, but like, it is a classic movie. You've got this kid who moves to a new town and like finds a group of guys who love baseball, but like the issue is, he's not a very good player himself. But due to the kindness of Benny, the best player in the group, by far, he welcomes in his new friend Smalls with open arms. Now Smalls' dad has this baseball that was like signed by Babe Ruth years ago, and they of course end up playing with it after running out of other balls. Long story short, this ball goes into like the neighbor's yard, which is guarded by like a massive dog, and all the kids have to find a way to get the ball back before the dad finds out like that it's missing.
The bee's got it! You're dead as a doornail, Smalls. You're dead as a doornail, Smalls. You mean to tell me that you went home and swiped a ball that was signed by Babe Ruth?
You've got a bunch of classic lines in this movie such as, "You play ball like a girl."
You play ball like a girl!
Or also, "You're killing me, Smalls," amongst many others. So this movie definitely belongs in this list. Coming in at number 4, I'm going with like a more underrated movie, I think. Little Big League. So in this movie, you've got like this 12-year-old kid whose grandfather, if I'm not mistaken, owns the Cleveland Indians. And so this kid actually ends up being the manager of the team due to some like bloodline stuff, I think.
And I want you to have my very favorite thing, the Minnesota Twins.
First of all, I'd just like to say this is really cool.
And initially, no one on the team takes him seriously. But he really gives it his all and like tries to connect with each of the players. And they finally start to respect him. And the team actually goes in like a huge role in order to make the playoffs. So an overall very fun movie, I would say. My personal favorite scene from this movie is like when the team's on a roll and like the song Run Around Sue is playing. Great song, classic. And like you've also got this superstitious pitcher who's like pumping his glove every time the team gets an out. Number 3, I'm going with the movie Mr. 3000. Another what I would consider to be like an underrated baseball movie because like I don't think a lot of people out there have actually seen it. I think it's like one of the best movies I've ever seen. So this movie is starring Bernie Mac as like a top baseball player who's very arrogant and like he only cares about himself. He's extremely selfish, but he gets by because like he's an all-star athlete.
To bring me Stan Ross to Cooperstown.
He ends up getting his 3,000th career hit, which he thought was like the key to getting into the Hall of Fame. So he retires, and like a few years later, the stat keepers are reviewing everything, and like turns out some of his hits shouldn't have counted that did. So he tries to come back and play in the majors at age 50 for the Brewers.
Okay, well that's one. Ho. Your knee touch, man. That's a girl push-up. That don't count.
You see my knee touch, Boca?
And he has to prove to himself he could still do it. But he also has to like win over the fans and his teammates and become more selfless. The funniest scenes in this movie, of course, involve the talking sausage who keeps ridiculing him.
Yeah, I might be a sausage with teeth, but you sure as hell ain't no Hall of Famer.
And of course, the final scene in that movie is great too. Number 2, my second favorite baseball movie of all time, I'm going with the movie Rookie of the Year. Of course, another lighthearted comedy that's absolutely hilarious. Another one where like people of all ages, and like even if you're not interested in baseball, you definitely have to watch this movie. So you've got this young kid, Henry, who breaks his arm trying to catch a ball, but it breaks and heals in such a way that gives him like superhuman strength and allows him to throw like a really fast pitch. He ends up getting picked up by the Chicago Cubs, even though like he's a young kid. His mentor on the team, another pitcher, Rocket, doesn't take him seriously, of course. But he ends up going close with Henry.
What am I supposed to do?
Deal from you have to.
My what?
What the heck was I talking about?
What the heck was he talking about?
Now this movie has so many hilarious scenes, starting with when Henry and like his teammate are running around the bases and like his teammate catches up to him and like tells him to go faster, and both of them actually slide into home together after Henry's telling him, "This is as fast as I go." Then of course you have the team trainer, who's like the same actor from Home Alone, who tries to teach the team hitting but because it was getting hurt.
Eye on the ball. Now bring it to me. Let the big dog eat.
He's trying to teach the team how to pitch. He's talking about like hot ice.
Hot ice. That's right. Hot ice. I heat up the ice cubes.
He's hilarious. Like he gets stuck within the hotel walls at one point. You've also got the mom who's making threats to the pitcher as like he's pitching to Henry. You have the team manager who calls Henry like 5 different names and like keeps on messing it up. Rosenberger, Rosengardner.
Gartenhoser.
A really hilarious movie, of course. And now coming in at number 1, my all-time favorite baseball movie, I gotta go with Moneyball. Starring Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill, and this movie is of course based on a true story about the Oakland A's in the early 2000s. So both those actors give like fantastic performances.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
And so the Oakland A's were a small market team who didn't have like a lot of money to spend on superstars, but they still like have to find a way to compete with like the better, more talented teams such as like the Yankees, who do have like tons of money to spend. So Peter Brandt, who's played by Jonah Hill, tells Billy Bean, who's played by Brad Pitt, all about like this analytic strategy of running a team where like you crunch all the numbers and you actually get like a team who can compete because the team gets on base and they do like all the little things really well.
14 runs in order to win those games and allow no more than 645 runs.
But at first, of course, everyone is like super skeptical of this and like think he's running the team into the ground, and none of them believe in him. But the team starts to put the pieces together and like goes on a massive winning streak. And this strategy actually led to like modern day sports analytics. My absolute favorite scene from this movie, and like I've spoken about numerous times, and like I even referenced it in my book Fight Through It, is after Billy loses the big game, Pete is like showing Billy this minor league player from the Visalia Oaks who hits a home run, but like he doesn't realize it.
Jeremy's going to do what he never does. He's going to go for it. He's going to round first, and he's going to go for it. This is all of Jeremy's nightmares coming to life.
And this metaphor has to do with like, you may have missed all these great things like you're doing because you're only focused on like hitting this one goal, but you may have hit a home run without realizing it.
Oh, they're laughing at him.
And Jeremy's about to find out why. He hit a home run and didn't even realize it.
Fantastic movie. I love it. Now I do have to give out some honorable mentions for my top favorite baseball movies, because of course, especially the older generation may not have liked the list I gave. So obviously another great baseball movie you have is Field of Dreams, starring Kevin Costner. A classic baseball movie where you have like, if you build it, he will come, talking about like Shoeless Joe Jackson, and like Kevin Costner's daughter in the movie is like singing all these things on the field that like no one else is singing. Another really great movie. You also have like the movie The Rookie, starring Dennis Quaid, which is based on a true story about like this older pitcher, Jim Morris, who finally achieves his dream of playing in the majors and like being a pitcher at the age of 35. You also have another great baseball comedy movie, Major League, starring Charlie Sheen and like Wesley Snipes, and like I'm not sure who else is in the movie, but like I haven't seen it in a while, but like I do remember it as being a really funny movie. And one more really great baseball movie that like I actually remembered after I finished making this list, which now I kind of want to add this movie into the list, but like I'm not going to because like I already finished it. But we're talking about the movie that came out in 2014, $1 Million Arm, another one which is like based on a true story. And this just so happens to be like one of my all-time favorite movies. I guess the reason I forgot about it is because like part of the movie involves like cricket and not baseball. But this movie is fantastic, starring John Hamm, Alan Arkin, and Lake Bell. So this movie once again is based on a true story where this guy, JB, runs a contest to find a baseball player in India because he sees this as like an untapped market.
Hey, how fast do they pitch in cricket? I think I cracked this. $1 Million Arm. We find the first Major League Baseball player from India.
The contest finishes up and like he finds two young players who can throw decent, but like are only used to playing cricket. And so he brings them to the US to give them like an MLB tryout, but like doesn't go so well at first. So he's forced like to have them live with him, and Lake Bell like, convinces him to train them and work with them.
Welcome to America, boys.
He can't train somebody who has never picked up a baseball. That's insane.
And to not be so focused on the money, but to actually build relationships with these guys.
These kids, they're my last best shot.
But they're also just a couple of great kids.
A really well done movie. Anyways, that's my list. Let me know if I missed any, and let me know your thoughts on my list. Now next, I want to talk about the Mission Impossible movie series, starring Tom Cruise, of course. So recently, while I was looking for something to watch on Netflix, I came across the 2023 version of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, I think it's called.
Your life will always matter more to me than my own.
Now also, keep in mind, I have learned to be careful when it comes to some of these types of movies, because I'm someone who likes action, but like I don't like overly violent, and like I can't handle gory.
Most violent game I've ever seen. I don't think it's healthy for you.
My taste is more like Rush Hour, The Matrix, and the Avengers and like superhero movies. But I can't watch a movie like John Wick. It's just like too much for me to handle. And quick story about the Mission Impossible movies. Not to get too sidetracked, but like when I was in 5th grade, for one of my friend's birthday parties, he took like a bunch of us to see the Mission Impossible movie. It must have been like the 3rd one at the time, I guess, because like this was 2006 if I'm not mistaken. So I'm almost positive we stayed for like 10 minutes and walked out because like it was definitely way too violent and like way too heavy for any 9 or 10-year-old kids at that time.
Are you listening to me? The only way you're gonna get what you want is for you to...
I'm not sure whose bright idea like it was for us to see that movie. Anyways, seeing these movies at this current stage, I am pleased to say we're within my tolerance level, and I'm actually glad I watched them out of order, so let me explain more. I'm not sure why I did it this way, but I basically watched the 2023 movie, then I went back to 2011 and 2015.
None of our lives can matter more than this mission.
I don't accept that.
I still haven't seen the 2018 or 2025 movies because those weren't on Netflix, unfortunately. But I watched all the others, and then I watched 1, 2, and 3 after that. However, the reason I'm glad I did it this way is because I'm not sure I would have stuck with it had I watched them all in order. The first 2 Mission Impossible movies are good, but not great in my opinion. I felt in those 2 there was too much slow motion fighting and over the top Matrix style moves, and they were just way too drawn out in my opinion. What I love though about the third one and onwards were honestly these movies had some of my favorite fight scenes for a non-Avengers or a non-superhero style movie, because they didn't feel overdone or too long. It's for instance, in so many other movies where you have guys stabbing each other and shooting each other over and over again, and you're just when is somebody gonna die? But the strength that I found in these movies from 3 onwards, I felt all the fights lasted for the proper amount of time, and had an actual purpose to them versus just violence for the sake of violence. Now the general overview for these movies is you have Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt, who's a secret agent for the IMF, Impossible Mission Force. You've got all these double agents, so early on you learn not to trust anyone. And so Tom Cruise, aka Ethan Hunt, takes on all these missions to save people, take on foreign governments, and make all these split-second decisions.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to penetrate the highly secured archive inside the Kremlin.
But of course he's not on his own. He's got the help of Ving Rhames, who's Ethan's main computer guy, and treats Ethan like family, and he's basically always down for any mission. You also have Benji join him in the later movies, as he's another tech guy who's very funny also. You've got a bunch of very pretty girls along the way who Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt is trying to protect. Now I always knew that Tom Cruise was known for being one of the best actors and top-notch actor performer, but I hadn't really seen tons of his movies over the years. Jerry Maguire is of course an amazing movie of his, and I did see the first Top Gun, but I still have yet to watch the new one. But seeing this Mission Impossible movie series helped me see why, regardless of what you think of Tom Cruise, you can't deny his insane talent as an actor and his dedication to his craft. The emotion he brings into every scene is so good, and he brings it every movie. And also one other really cool thing about these movies is that Ethan is a good guy, but yet most of the high-ranking officials see him as a criminal. So not only is he fighting the bad guys, but he's also fighting the good guys and trying to keep them off of him for long enough so that this way he can carry out his missions. Now my favorite Mission Impossible movie out of all the ones I watched, I would have to say was the 2015 one, Rogue Nation. And this movie just so happens to be a rare case where me and the critics actually agreed, because this one actually got 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Where is Hunt?
Last I heard, he was tracking the syndicate.
In this movie, Ethan and his team have to bring down a rogue organization, the Syndicate, even as the CIA disbands the IMF and tries to bring Ethan down too. So anyways, a really amazing movie series that I thoroughly enjoyed watching. Now next, I want to talk about another really underrated rom-com movie that I saw recently on Netflix. So we have the rom-com How Do You Know, starring Reese Witherspoon, Owen Wilson, Paul Rudd, and Jack Nicholson. And as I mentioned earlier, as is customary for me by now, me and the critics don't always see eye to eye, and so that's why it's my job to bring some of these movies to your attention. Of course, we all have different tastes, but for those of you who share my tastes, I hope you guys could appreciate my recommendations.
We have the same taste in movies.
Now, I've always liked and appreciated a good rom-com, which is why I try so many out, but a good one is actually very rare to find. Most of the ones that I find are very fake and phony. It's almost like how in one of my favorite movies, Friends with Benefits, they're talking about this other rom-com, which is basically a fantasy movie, or rather a fantasy world, and Justin Timberlake is saying how now they're gonna play an upbeat song to make you think you really enjoyed the movie, when actually it sucks and it's not real life.
God, I wish my life was a movie sometimes.
Not as awesome as this ambiguously upbeat pop song that has nothing to do with the plot.
So many rom-coms out there like that I've seen have these super corny lines and just doesn't feel relatable at all. My favorite all-time rom-com, I have to go with Hitch. The Kevin James, Will Smith, Eva Mendes dynamic is just flawless. Spot on, I love it. That movie's hilarious. But now back to this movie, you've got three people in this love triangle. But the thing is, no one really knows exactly what they want.
I'll see you soon, and we'll just hang out.
Reese Witherspoon, Lisa, is a really good softball player who just got cut from her team, so she's rediscover who she is and where her life is going. So she's feeling aimless. Then you've got Owen Wilson, Maddie, who's an MLB pitcher, who really likes Lisa, but can't commit to just one girl.
Okay, you sure?
Well, no.
There's no pressure. It should feel right.
But he's not actually a bad guy per se. And then you have Paul Rudd, George, whose dad, Jack Nicholson, gets him into all this trouble and almost has him indicted because of all these bad business dealings. So as you can see, each of them has their own challenges. And the thing is, none of them ever really says the right things at the right time. But you could sense how each of them feels.
I thought you were this silly guy. Everything but you seems silly.
Now I'm not saying this was the perfect movie, or that the story itself was totally relatable. But the characters themselves, and their emotions, you can really feel and relate to them.
Who knows what I'm saying here?
I think I know what you're saying. I might not at all be...
What?
You love me too.
And it's typically, in this kind of love triangle type of movie, there's one guy who's perfect for the girl, and the other guy who's horrible, and who's just a horrible person who treats her horribly. But actually, the whole villain-hero dynamic, black or white, is rarely how things work in the real world. So in the case of this movie, I liked how Maddie wasn't a horrible person, but George was just way better for Lisa. And I liked how they each had their own challenges, and yet they were willing to accept each other in spite of them. So I'm a sucker for a good rom-com. I am of course a highly sensitive person, but I'm someone who really needs to feel the emotions. And most of the movies out there fall short of this, but this one was actually really good. To me, I thought the characters and all their emotions felt authentic. So anyways, I would highly recommend this movie. It starts off a little bit slow, and once again it's not a perfect story, but by the end of it you feel really good, or at least I did. Now on to this week's sports recap. We've got NBA playoffs and MLB news. Let's go now. So let's start things off by analyzing all these NBA playoff series. Of course, I already made a clip post-game of the first game of Rockets-Lakers series, where my favorite team, the Lakers, won. But of course, tonight we've got Game 2. I still have no idea if Kevin Durant is playing. But I said it last week that the Lakers had to split at least one at home. And they did that, so as Charles Barkley said the other day, now the team actually thinks they could win. Of course, last year's playoffs against the Wolves, the Lakers team came out so flat and got punched hard right away. For this series, they'll start off with LeBron taking control over the pace of the game and putting on a masterclass, especially during that first quarter. Hopefully that sets the tone for the series. And this is also one of the many reasons why I consider LeBron to be the GOAT, because he keeps on reinventing himself at every point in his career and keeps on adding to his bag. It's almost like Thanos collecting stones, the Infinity Stones. So to start off his career, he was relying only on his athleticism, because of course he could. Then he adds turnaround jumper, then he adds 3, and now currently, I think his court vision and passing mastery may be the best they've ever been. He's currently at a point where he could lose all of his athleticism, or at least most of it, even though of course he hasn't. But I still think he would be pretty effective. And of course, throughout his whole career, LeBron has always been great when he has a shooter alongside him. So having Luke Kennard is no different. I do expect the Rockets to come out tonight with a better game plan, but so much of it also depends on KD's status. Because of course his team is drastically different without him. Everyone is getting different shots without him there. And I'm not sure if the Rockets have enough shooters without him either. The Lakers are going to have to keep on taking good shots, which totally happened in Game 1. As of course, the team shot an incredibly high percentage, which I'm not sure if I expect that to continue the whole series. but I am looking forward to see like where the series goes. Next up, we have the Spurs-Blazers series, and like I like what the Blazers have done this year. To get to the playoffs, it seemed like they had to fight and scrap, and they're not going to go down like without a fight. I'm just not sure like if that team has enough answers for Wemby. Denny Avdia has been incredible, like, and he's most definitely for real. He may be like one of the most aggressive drivers and like best players when it comes to drawing contact like I've ever seen. And he of course like had that 40-point game in the play-in, and like he had 30 in game 1 of the Spurs-Blazers series. And yet like the team just didn't have any answers for Wemby, who put up 35 and like 5 threes in his playoff debut. And even just like Wemby's sheer paint presence is enough like to deter anyone driving in, outside of like Denny Avdia. I like Drew Holiday, I like Jeremy Grant, I like Klingon. And Scoot Henderson like has been playing solid too. But it just feels to me like this team is a year behind where the Spurs are. At least as far as like team development goes. And plus we also can't forget like the Spurs have De'Aaron Fox, who has like a lot of experience. Stephon Castle's been like incredible in his early career. Luke Cornett, who's like solid off the bench. And yes, of course, the Spurs team overall like isn't experienced either. But I'm not sure why, but like everything just like feels different with them. Then we have the 3-6 matchup of Nuggets Timberwolves, which as of last night got tied up at 1 apiece in that crazy game. And so I think all of us knew like the series was going to be a dogfight. I'm not sure like how deep the series is going to go. I still like expect Denver to win, but like after last night's game, I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. Rudy Gobert like putting a defensive performance on Jokic in that fourth quarter last night, like I don't think anyone was expecting. I mean, like in game 2, I think Murray and Jokic in the fourth quarter were like 2 of 13. I also think both of them were just like really tired. But I do still think the Nuggets are the better team. I mean, with Jokic and Murray in the playoffs, you're always going to have like a really solid chance at making a run. Having said that though, like outside of Jokic's poster dunk on Gobert, Rudy's like actually been forcing Jokic into like taking a lot of tough shots. Of course, playoff Jamal Murray's just like built different as he's like 230 plus point games to start this playoffs. And of course, like Jokic is always going to get his. He's always going to put up his numbers. And so I do think Gobert like has done like a great job at slowing him down. But I do think he's going to get off as the series goes on. He's going to like start to make adjustments, I think. I've also always loved the versatile play of Aaron Gordon, who appears healthy so far. And so I do think this team can make a deep playoff run. But like going through Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and Rudy Gobert, that team is like built different. That team is like super physical and like built for the playoffs. I still expect Denver to win though. Then we have the Thunder and the Suns. I think the Suns are a good story. They of course overachieved this year. But the Thunder are like a championship built team with a chance like to repeat. Now of course like I can't stand whenever Shea does this whole foul baiting stuff. I mean like he shot 5 of 18 in game 1 and yet like took 17 free throws and like most of those were not fouls in my opinion. It's just not good basketball, like when he's kicking his leg out and like flopping all over the place. And like I don't blame him, like I blame the refs like for giving him every call. It's gotta be killing Dylan Brooks when like the refs aren't letting him defend Shea properly. But anyways, having said that, Shea is still like an incredible player, and like for him to shoot like that in game 1 and like OKC still wins by 30, I think the series like was over before it even started. Not to throw like any shade at Phoenix, they of course had like a nice season, a good story. But also, like, I don't understand, like, when Jalen Green became the number 1 option. And, like, he's been playing great. Like, he's been putting up 30 plus in most games. But I'm not sure, like, if that's what Devin Booker likes. And also, of course, not having Grayson Allen hurts that team, too. Now let's move things over to the Eastern Conference, which, of course, had a shakeup last night in that Knicks-Hawks series. I said it last week, and, like, I've been saying it all season. Everyone has to be on watch for CJ McCollum. Teams have been sleeping on him for years. Everyone thought like he was just thrown into that trade for Trae Young. But they forgot like this guy puts up 20 a game in his sleep. And last night he put up 32 and went crazy at the Garden. Especially during that second half. I'm not sure like how the Knicks blew it though. I turned the game off like after the third quarter because like the Knicks were up by 12 I think. And it looks as if like the Knicks had the game in hand. Cat was playing great, Brunson was balling, Josh Hart was having a great game. And then like I turned it back on late in that fourth quarter and I see like the Hawks took the lead. I thought that like Josh Hart did a great job on Jalen Johnson in that first half, who only took like 4 shots I think. But he of course came alive in the second half. Now, I do still think the Knicks are going to win this series, but they can't take the Hawks lightly. The Hawks actually went on like a huge win streak to end the season and started to like figure things out and like build some of that chemistry together. And now like they've seen that they can beat the Knicks. Then we have the Cavs-Raptors series, where the Cavs are currently up 2-0. I said that like before the playoffs started, like the Cavs were going to be looking to make a statement in this playoffs. They of course added Harden at the deadline to go along with Donovan Mitchell. Evan Mobley's been playing great. Mitchell now was like 230 plus point games start of the series, and like Harden went off for 28 last night too. And going up like against a young ahead of schedule Raptors team, I expect the Cavs to win this series. And they could be like dangerous in this playoffs as it goes on, but like that of course remains to be seen. Celtics 76ers, I think the Celtics may actually be like the strongest team in this playoffs as of right now. And they destroyed that Sixers team who was without Joel Embiid. Jason Tatum keeps getting stronger. And Jaylen Brown has been doing his thing like all season. Everyone on that team like knows and plays their roles so well, I think. Peyton Pritchard comes in and like lights things up on offense every time he gets the ball. Garza and Shyman come in and like hit some shots. Quaid is a great defender. Of course, Derek White is like a do-it-all guy. Jordan Walsh brings that high energy every time he comes in. And these guys like just play so well as a team. And I'm not sure like if the 76ers as currently constructed have enough like firepower to match that. And finally, the Magic beat the Pistons in Game 1 in that shocker. And this was of course in spite of Kate Cunningham putting up 39 points. However, I will say like if you look at just the stats, you would say like Kate was unstoppable and like looks like back to himself after that injury. But I'm not sure like if it was just me, but like his energy and like defense still seem a little bit off. Of course, like, he still hit his shots, but like, I'm not sure if he's at full health at the moment. But of course, we're not putting this all on Cade, by any means. My guy, Tobias Harris, like I thought played pretty well and like stayed aggressive for the whole game. But like he was also 5 of 15 shooting. He had 17 points though. So of course, he and the rest of the team are going to have to make more shots. But where the team really struggled was on defense. They could not stop Paolo Banchero. And I hope like Bickerstaff looks back and like tries to find ways to get Thompson and Tobias on Banchero more. Because those are like the only two who I think have like the size and athleticism to keep up with him. And who can also like provide some level of physicality. I'm not sure like where all the Paolo hate comes from this past year. Because like every time I watch him like he goes off. And he's been like bodying guys and like getting to the rim at will in this playoffs so far. Playing in playoffs. Now also like Jalen Duren had a rough first game too. And like he got outplayed by Wendell Carter, I thought. And also like Goga too. And so as like we know, so much of the playoffs is about matchups. So yes, of course it's like a 1-8 match, so like it should be an easy win for the Pistons. But I hear like a lot of people saying that like the Magic might just be like a bad match for the Pistons. And in Game 1 it looked that way. All season the Pistons dominated other teams because of their physical play. But the Magic have some big physical guys of their own. Suggs of course was all over the place. Wagner got his on offense. And Paolo of course balled out. So Game 2, needless to say, is a must-win for the Pistons. They cannot go on the road down 0-2. Now next, I want to talk some MLB news. So of course we have the Mets, who are currently on like an 11-game losing streak at the time of filming. This team just simply can't hit. Of course they're missing Juan Soto, who should be back next week, I think. But don't forget also, like this offseason, that team lost Pete Alonso, lost Brandon Nimmo, who's been crushing it in Texas. Lindor still really hasn't like gotten things going just yet. And even like all the new additions, including Bichette, haven't done enough. Senga like has really struggled mightily in his past few outings. So the Mets are currently in freefall, and like it looks like Mendoza's on the hot seat. Now my number one favorite team, the Yankees, have been looking better over the past few games. They shut out the Royals the other night. Aaron Judge like has really caught fire as he's up to 9 home runs right now. Back to doing his thing. And of course, last week he had that battle against Mike Trout, which was a lot of fun. Ben Rice has continued like his hot start, like he's hitting .338 with 8 home runs, I think. And the Yankees are back to first place in the AL East at the moment. Now some other big stories from around the MLB. You have Yordan Alvarez on the struggling Astros, who's up to 10 home runs on .326 average and 21 RBIs. You also have Mike Trout, who's finally looking back to like his old self, as he's up to 7 home runs and like had 5 in that series against the Yankees, which is crazy. And of course, a healthy Mike Trout is great for the game of baseball. Now hopefully the Angels can actually get him into the playoffs for once. Nico Horner for the Cubs, who've been looking solid recently, is up to .322 with 21 RBIs of his own. Of course, Shohei Ohtani is up to like 52 straight games of getting on base. And of course, he's only given up like 1 run pitching so far. And honestly, that whole Dodgers team is just like unstoppable. One night, like, it's Andy Pajes who does the hitting. Then you have like Max Muncy with 2 home runs or 3 home runs. Then you have this new catcher on that team, Dalton Rushing, who's the backup catcher, but like he's hitting .444 with 7 home runs. The Dodgers team just like isn't even fair. And also Mason Miller has still yet to give up any runs on the season, and he almost has like as many balls pitched as like he has strikeouts. It's scary stuff. Anyways, that's your sports recap for the week. Let's get back to finish up the video now. Anyways, that's the video. If you guys liked what you heard, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys next time. Stay positive, stay hustling, stay grinding, catch you next time. Peace.